Hello. Ukraine has to make its next counteroffensive in the next few days, and they have to make it massive across the front. Reason? Well, there are a few. Number one, advantage and continuity of the recent very successful attack. Number two, threat of Russian referendum in the occupied territories, and finally the bad weather that could be brutal in that region. So the effect of the successful counteroffensive in the beginning of September is huge. It raised spirits of the Ukrainian fighters, made them believe in their abilities, and made Ukraine prove to the entire world they can achieve great successes. But if there is no continuation and no further advances and victories, the effect will fade over time. Soldiers will be fatigued. The supporting Western countries will be disappointed with the lack of further progress. The winter will make fighting more difficult and tiresome, fortunately for both sides. It seems that Russians, or rather the pro-Russian governing bodies in the occupied territories, are pursuing their dream to become a part of the Mother Russia. It's worth mentioning that originally they wanted to just become independent from Ukrainian regions, but now they want more protection and a different status. If they make it legally, sort of a democratic way, that may shift the whole military disposition in Ukraine. Regardless of the fact that these referendums won't be recognized by any other countries, Russia will have to behave like they are now, not just supporting independent regions, but protecting their own land. These regions are about to get a similar status as the Crimea Peninsula, and with that status, Russians will be able to place their regular army and military bases in these territories. And as we all understand, that means that as soon as Ukraine continues its counteroffensive into these now Russian territories, Russia will be able to declare it an invasion and start a full-force war. What are the consequences? Well, right now Russia only fights with professional or semi-professional army with soldiers mostly on contracts and mercenaries from private military companies. If the war is declared, they will legally bring the regular army, which is massive and trained. Let us see a quick film from the World War II showing how a similar thing was done by Stalin in 1941.
But the Germans were confident that come the spring, they could finish the job. For much of autumn 1941, Stalin's armies reeled under the German onslaught. But all the while, he had another worry, that the Japanese would attack his forces in Siberia. But in November, the Soviet dictator received a message from his top spy in Japan, assuring him the Japanese had no such intention. Immediately, more than 30 divisions began moving west along the Trans-Siberian Railway to Moscow. They were well equipped and well trained in winter fighting. By early December, more than 500,000 extra men were in position near the capital.
Russian regular army today has over 1 million troops. Of course, they're all dispersed across the country from west to east, but it doesn't mean they cannot be moved very quickly to Ukraine. And the last reason, bad weather. It is coming very soon, and it can be as brutal as an enemy and will stall any progress from both sides of the conflict. Look at another clip from 1941, also showing what weather can do in that very region.
But the real obstacle to German advance would be the weather. On October the 8th, heavy rains set in. German vehicles soon became bogged down in a sea of mud. By late October, appalling weather and the increasingly stubborn Soviet resistance meant Army Group Center was still some 50 miles short of Moscow. Hitler was finally paying the price for his decision earlier in the year to delay his advance on Moscow. At around the same time, Army Group South reached the Black Sea, trapping yet more Soviet soldiers. Another 100,000 prisoners were taken. But they too were hampered by the weather. Even so, the city of Kharkov was captured on October the 24th, 1941. But the weather was now starting to freeze. The German forces, confident the campaign would be over by the summer, were caught unprepared. With no winter clothing, they now suffered terribly.
There are already some reports from small Ukrainian and Russian news agencies that Ukraine is already transferring its forces to the front lines. The agency claims they are potentially going to the northeast, east, and south fronts. So let's hope it is true, and we'll hear updates from there shortly. Good day.